Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome. You've got mail.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me, seated directly to my left, another show. We're in the same room, Dan.
It's true. Well, this is the most important show of the year.
This is why I'm here.
We can't do this show remotely.
I am here for this show.
It's true.
Dan Rubenstein, how are you?
Life is good. I am giddy with
Yes.
excitement over today's show because it is the third annual 1000% off-topic show with our pal Bill Barnwell. And this year's topic is arguably the most personal and most important topic we've ever discussed. If you've already downloaded the show, which I assume you have if you're listening, you know that we are talking basically our experiences with the 90s internet and computer everything.
See, I am disappointed in you.
Yeah.
Because you are usually the guy when we're doing our college football show that has something queued up on Spotify.
Right.
How do you not have Phil Collins in the air tonight for this show?
Well, if I was doing this show for real, in that spirit, I would either bring up a Metallica song.
Yeah.
Because shout out Lars Ulrich, the best and worst person of the 90s as it relates to music and the internet. Or maybe the Buddy Holly, Weezer, Windows 95. I think that might have been the move.
You need to play it on Winamp, which really still does whip the llama's ass.
It very much does. And if you heard a very faint laugh right there, that's our pal from ESPN, senior NFL writer.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what my title is.
Bill Barnwell.
Hey.
Welcome
back, Bill.
Thanks, guys. I got to admit, when it actually sparked a memory for me. When I believe I somehow downloaded a clip of some Metallica song, maybe Nothing Else Matters. And I had a 3-second clip on AOL that replaced the You've Got Mail clip whenever I got new mail.
That is
Nothing Else Matters.
So great. Because I had totally forgotten in deep diving my own 90s internet experience in my brain, totally forgot that you could replace all the waves, you know, the You've Got Mail, the welcome, goodbye, everything with you. There's custom Seinfeld or Terminator 2 or any of those.
The early AOL modding was a
Yes.
thing that you could do for
Yes.
sure. So, okay, the title of this show, I don't know if we've necessarily agreed on that, but it's 1990s internet things. Dan and I discussed this, Bill, before you came over. A little bit of a loose restriction there on the 1990s.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't have to be up until 1999.
But in the spirit of the late 90s, essentially. But yeah, we're going to try to stick as much as we can to the 90s. And before we get fully into the things that we're going to discuss, I think it's good to set a baseline. Ty, what year did you graduate from high school?
2000.
You graduated from 2000. So this pushes right up against. So this is high school and the internet are basically one and the same. This is the popularity of the internet.
This is when we're growing up right here. Yeah.
I'm 01. Bill, you are?
I'm also 01.
You're also 01.
Yes.
So we are just right smack dab. Like, as we are going through these life changes.
Yeah.
The world
this
is essentially the world's puberty.
Yeah,
right.
You're making like the sign for pubes.
Yeah, that's true. The international pube sign is what's happening at this table. No, but what I'm saying is this is like, you know, coming of age, like, you know, whether it's video games, whether it's, you know, talking to people from high school or talking to total strangers on the internet or, you know, playing games or what.
Well, here's what's interesting about this, and especially since this is the same crew as the emo show we did 2 years ago, and then last year the 90 Sports video games. This is sort of the tie that binds.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely does.
All of those things. This was like the one thing that held it all together. It definitely amplified the emo obsession, being so we had access to things like Napster, and it absolutely made the gaming a little bit more intense because now all of a sudden you could talk to people on the internet about the same game.
Oh, I mean, I was running I was one of the people running a video game website for Front Page Sports Football Pro.
That's
in the mid 90s. Like, you know, that does not happen if there's no internet. So
right,
exactly.
I mean, it
and the majority of your income since then is in some way, directly or indirectly, tied to the internet.
I sold that website, and it's just been ever since, just money
It's
pouring in.
straight cash. Front page sports still loaded. No, but like obviously you've been at ESPN for a while. You were at IGN doing things.
Yes.
You were, ESPN/Grantland before that, before full ESPN. So this is, what am I missing? You were Football Outsiders, a contributor.
That's true.
So we collectively, even Ty on your day job, you're connected to the internet.
I am connected. Yeah, we're all connected to the interwebs.
And I have, my salaries have all been tied essentially to the internet.
So here's what we should do to establish another baseline before we really dive in. Let's talk about our general like foundation with how we use the internet. What was our computer situation? What were
our rig?
Our rig. What did we connect to? How did we connect to the internet in the 90s?
Bill, what was your mid 90s rig?
Few different ways I was connecting to the internet. I had AOL before you could use AOL to access the World Wide Web.
Okay, like so just those topics.
Yeah, there was no outgoing thing. It was just you were in that AOL space and there was no way to escape it. There was that.
Right.
We'll start there. There was Prodigy. I don't know if you guys remember Prodigy.
Of course.
I still remember that my handle was JCMU85A on Prodigy. Thank you very much.
What was your AOL screen name?
Oh, God. My AOL screen name was, I believe, and I could be wrong, I want to say it was NFL Weiland, which was a combination of
I know
football
where you're going.
and Scott Weiland of Stone Temple Pilots. My two favorite things combined into one. So I think
when people come across you, they're like, "Oh, this guy is for real."
This guy, two things.
This guy has
super
hobbies,
into.
plural.
And I mean, like you had a profile you could search for in AOL, but you could search for anyone's profile just by typing in a name. So like, I remember I would go and look for Steve or Bill or Bob, and I'd be like, "Wow, this guy was an early adopter." If only I had Bill on AOL, I would be golden. So had AOL. Had Prodigy. I think I preferred Prodigy to AOL, especially around it. It just felt like it was more immersive because it was a DOS program. So it was like your entire screen as opposed to a window. And then we had Imagination, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Imagination was a little different from the other one. So you could only access it between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Okay.
Like if you dialed into it, it was like, before that, you had to pay like some exorbitant fee, like it was $15 an hour to access it before 7 p.m. So you had to be really addicted to it.
Yes.
It was like its own little program. It had a bunch of different games. It had actually football, Front Page Sports Football Pro. It was the same company. It had like Red Baron. It had some RPGs. And of course, it had a password-protected adult zone, which I did not go to.
Oh,
I actually not being facetious. I did not. Yeah. I actually did not go to it.
Fair.
But like, it was clearly like this was a thing for adults. Like
where they talk about taxes,
right? They talk about taxes,
childcare,
401ks,
all the
deductions. So, and there were message boards, of course, but there was a lot of sports-related content there, and a lot of actually sports games you could play. So, I preferred that one, but it was very tough to get access to it because, of course, I was sharing a computer with my friends and family, most of my family, occasionally my friends, but you had to share with I had a younger brother and a younger sister.
What computer is this, by the way?
This is a Packard Bell.
Hell yeah.
Gotta be a Packard Bell.
Might have been an IBM PS2 at some point, but it was not a fantastic computer, but I was pretty good at programming stuff together, especially back then. So I was able to upgrade it. I saved up some money being an Ultra Boy to get a faster video card so I could play NHL 93.
So as soon as you got a taste, you were like all in.
I'm in. This is my thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So AOL, Prodigy, and if I got lucky sometimes, Imagination.
Wow. Ooh. No CompuServe on there though.
I could never deal with CompuServe because the email addresses and the usernames are just a bunch of numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
I was not into that. I don't think I've ever used CompuServe. Did you guys use CompuServe?
No. And certainly you could not find NFL Weiland on CompuServe.
So Dan, what was your rig?
So I have a unique situation in that the first computer we had was probably in 1992. And we got the computer because I won it on a game show. It was a Mac or an Apple LC520.
Is that the game show we have posted on our YouTube channel?
That's the winning computer.
I would love it if it was a different game show you did not know about.
yeah. Well, I've been on 4. Yeah. So so we won that computer and we didn't have the internet, and it was just a lot of like Oregon Trail, Math Blaster, that kind of stuff.
Love to blast some math.
my parents went out to dinner once and I wrote a memoir as like a 10-year-old on there because I discovered a word processing, whatever it was, like text edit. I wrote my memoir on there. And then we got AOL and I was NetAce725.
Oh, man.
Whoa.
And it was that double meaning of both the internet and I was a tennis player.
What was the
Right.
725?
I'm July 25th, my birthday.
So you were a birthday
yes.
numbers guy.
Right.
Interesting.
So NetAce725, although my first AIM screen name, we can get an AIM as like different animal, was originally NetAce725, changed it, I believe, to Jackal2B.
Whoa.
Why?
Don't know what that means.
Okay.
No idea. And then later became, this bridges the gap between this and the emo show. I want to say late high school became Sumpin Corp for like
Yeah.
something corporate, but
Okay.
said in a different way. Sumpin
I don't
Corp.
like the word something.
Nope.
Something. No.
Not many people do. But here we were just an AOL family until we got DSL, maybe late in high school, early college, but I lived in a different state in college. But AOL, all in on profiles, the chat rooms, fantasy sports, everything. And it was, and we asked the internet, I asked the internet today, what were your 90s memories on the internet, blah, blah, blah. And an overwhelming number of people were, away message, you've got mail, blah, blah, blah. I cannot state how enormous of a deal it was to me, and I'm assuming to you, just hearing, you've got mail,
For sure.
and seeing new email. Now we get thousands of emails, like it feels like a day. That made your day.
It was
Got
an
a new
event back then.
It was
Yeah.
such an event.
Of course.
So we were, as the Rubensteins were an AOL family, and it went from the Mac. I went into PCs. I had a Gateway.
Oh, everyone had. Did you have a
So,
gateway?
I did not have a gateway.
Whoa, he's the only one.
The
I
cow
know.
spots
Yeah.
box. Yeah.
I bought my computers from Tiger
Yeah, Tiger Direct.
Direct.
Oh, very nice.
I did not get that. I'm sure I looked at them.
So did you build did you build a tower at a certain point?
in late high school, in college? Yes, I could build a tower,
Mhm.
but usually I was not building that. And that was not out of a lack of interest or ability. Just I did not have the funds to purchase a tower.
Right. Fair.
Yeah.
Ty?
No, so my earliest memory of having a computer was Mama H bringing one home from school over summer.
Nice.
Nice.
And I believe that was an old Apple LG2.
oh boy.
Hell yeah.
It had something like 512 kilobytes of memory, which, you couldn't
burner.
you couldn't run a toaster on that nowadays, but that was my earliest memory. And then we kind of progressed into Dell. There was at some point a Gateway 2000,
Sure.
Mhm.
and then probably more Dells after it. But we sort of dabbled in the Prodigy stuff early, JCMU 85A, long live.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, it was mostly just AOL. Could never get into the CompuServe thing. I had a unique situation, being lived with Mama H.
Mhm.
Dad, who's never been mentioned on this program,
Right.
would go to visit with Dad from time to time.
Mhm.
And Dad had a separate Gateway 2000.
Ooh.
man.
Okay.
Okay, so I had two, and oftentimes I had two separate systems to work on.
Mhm.
And so on his computer, I became, we weren't connected to the internet in the same way we are today.
Right.
I can only assume the best in the world at Minesweeper,
Okay. Have to assume.
right? And would construct ornate paintings within Paint.
Mhm.
Sure.
And then on my own home computer,
Nothing but catfishing.
right?
That was the catfishing rig.
but that was more of the AOL. That was more of
Sure.
my screen name
Mhm.
was
Of course.
Wow.
so.
And you kept that to this day.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I may still have that to this day.
May I ask before we this is sort of bracketing. This is an early bracketing of, so when you went away to college, laptop or desktop?
Desktop. I was given a desktop as a graduation gift. That I was given the money to build a desktop. So I
Okay.
got a desktop, brought it with me.
Ty?
I had a desktop.
As did I.
Yeah.
And you went to college within driving distance. You went to college within driving distance. I did not. And shipped a goddamn desktop 800 miles away to school, back from school, back to school, back from
There
school.
were a lot of
Yeah.
big cow spotted boxes
Yes.
floating
I know.
around
Ton.
college campuses.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
I would have possibly considered going to a different school, as I went to Northeastern University. I grew
Right.
up in New York. I went to school in Boston. I probably would have gone to Arizona State University.
Mm-hmm.
And this is related to the show.
Yeah.
Were it not for the fact that in 2000, when I was looking at schools, most of their dorms did not have Ethernet connections.
Yeah.
You had to
Unacceptable.
dial up to the internet.
Yeah.
In 2000. That was 18 years ago. That's
Absurd.
crazy.
I visited Arizona State in 2000, and I ate too many garlic fries at Gordon Biersch and threw up all over the place. Was not partying, was with my dad and our friend Dave, and just puked everywhere. Did not end up at Arizona State.
So we were all on AOL.
Yeah, all
we all were part of the. Do we want to call it like the AIM economy? Whatever.
Yeah, sure.
You know, AIM. If we're going to talk about this era of the internet, it was the thing.
Of course.
It was the social media before social media
100%.
even came
course.
into existence. Everyone had a screen name.
Mhm.
My daily regimen was: you wake up, you go to school, you come home, you do whatever you got to do, and then from like 7 p.m. until it's time to go to bed, you
You're on
hop on AOL.
Mhm.
Burning that keyboard.
Yeah, you start typing with your friends. I don't remember doing that much else on the internet other than typing to my friends on AOL.
We had a
during
different
that time
experience. We had a different experience. Anyway, we need to go deep into AIM. But what baud are we talking? BAUD, your connection.
Oh God. Well, I mean, at first it was 14.4.
You went all the way back to 14.4.
Oh God, yeah. At first it was 14.4.
It was 14.4 for me, but like there would be AOL was so popular and
Mm-hmm.
so difficult to access at the beginning that one of the ways people would connect would be to try a slower bauds. Like I got down to 4-digit bauds
Oh no.
at my worst, and it was bad. It was
Yeah.
not a pretty sight.
I mean,
Yeah.
bad then was real bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even a question. Like
Yeah.
you compare that to, I remember like AOL being super excited about, oh, we now support 56.6K modems. That was insane.
Madness.
Nothing could be faster.
It was like the 4K of 1998.
Oh, 100%.
I remember we jumped from 14.4 to 33.6
Oh,
modem
that's a big
wise.
jump.
Beautiful.
And
It's a big
everybody
jump.
was just slumming it in 28.8. But the Rubensteins were god dang in on 33.6, and it felt like we were zooming. And then we got to 56K. Please.
My internet at home right now might be about 56K.
Is that
with
true?
How bad
Yeah.
it is. No, but the question that I jotted down on our little note sheet here,
Mhm.
did anyone have a separate phone line? Because we're
Yes.
we're in that era now where
Mhm.
you're tying up the phones a lot, especially at
Mhm.
night. And to really be a true power user of the interwebs,
Can't be interrupted.
Did you have the separate phone line?
I wish. I dreamt.
No.
I would have loved it. Would have been the dream, but did not happen. No.
We did. We had 2 lines in our house before even the internet. And the second line became for like fax internet. And then in high school, I mean, old chatty Dan over here,
Well, you guys
couldn't help it. The ladies.
You guys may have had a
one
different
lady.
experience than
Yeah.
me
Right.
with just sharing the computer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I'm an only child.
Oh,
Yeah. I have 2 little brothers. Bill has 2 siblings,
I have 2
believe.
siblings. Yeah.
So how did that work at night where you got
Nightmare.
the
It was
one
awful.
phone line and all, and you didn't have more than one computer.
No.
No one had more than one computer.
No.
How did that function?
Eventually we did, but it took a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's awful. It was a terrible mess. You get about 90 minutes. So it would be like, you're in at 5:30, you're out at 7. You have that much time to work
Yes.
with. You got to get a
And
lot of
jam
stuff done.
everything. Yeah.
And so then after I graduated high school, my parents said, you can get a computer, buy a desktop, we'll pay for it, just put it together, be reasonable. And I did. And that was like the biggest luxury was not only number one, I have my own computer, I don't have to share it, but number 2, we had a cable modem at that point. So I could just stay online all day.
Yep.
As opposed to like having to structure my time. That was like, I could not imagine life being better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Those
Yeah,
are the
this-
days. Yeah.
You think back fondly, but also that was a nightmare. That
Of
was
course.
a
Yeah.
full-on nightmare. 2 little brothers also wanting to use the internet, and it's not like those 90 minutes were used in a constructive or like in an efficient way.
No,
You're
never.
talking 56K, 33.6. That's a slow experience. So you're getting a tenth of what you can do in 90 minutes.
Yeah, and
in
the other
that.
thing too is now when we go online, we know what we want to
Of course.
get done. We know what sites are out there. We know what's available to us. But back
It's a
then,
new planet.
it was a totally new planet. New things are popping up all the time. So you couldn't be efficient because the entire experience was exploration.
Yeah.
You were just seeing what was out there as
Mhm.
opposed to searching and destroying.
Also, the idea of loading a picture. I'm not even I'm not talking about porn. I'm not talking about anything like, I mean, I could be, but I'm not talking about anything at all inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking if you're loading a picture of, I don't know who, like Kobe Bryant in 1998, new Laker or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is like Breaking Bad. You're like, what's going to happen next? What are the next pixels going to be like? Is it going to be in focus? Is it, a high quality? Is it a low quality image? And everything is, you're just on the edge of your seat waiting for a picture. That's it.
Can I tell you a story?
Please.
About how naive I was once upon a time. I was downloading a picture of an athlete. I don't remember who. I want to say a hockey player.
That's a thing, mind you. You just downloaded athlete pictures to
Just like-
collect.
Because you could.
Yeah. Like, I'm just going to get this Joe Sakic photo.
Yeah, of course.
Because why not? I got to hoard it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I wanted to see something on the other side of the photo.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think like maybe his back was facing the camera and I wanted to see what was going on in the front.
Mm-hmm.
So I downloaded a image editing software and hit the rotate button, trying to get the photo to rotate, not realizing that it would just rotate the actual pixels.
Yes.
Very upsetting to find out after about an hour and a half of work.
You thought you had 3-dimension access
No,
to
I
all
did-
of life
I
in
did not,
perpetuity.
as it turns out.
Oh man. Yeah.
sad.
That waiting was insane.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we graduated up into college and, same deal where you get to college, it's talk about a new planet.
Yes.
Oh, it's not even this. It's
No,
absurd.
it's,
got
and
the
this isn't
wired
90s
Ethernet.
necessarily,
Yeah.
but it's steroids. It's everything is upped. It's basically going from a covered wagon to a Ferrari,
Right.
with
No.
nothing in between.
The moment for me was really Napster, where it was
Yes.
like, in the past, like you could find files and you could download them and it wouldn't be super fast, but you could like
Yes.
get your 56K speed, download a 5 megabyte file.
Some
and you get it.
Simpsons waves or
Sure,
something like that. Yeah.
Syncopter.
Yep.
You can get that stuff. But then like Napster coming along, and there were other sites, but Napster I think was the most prominent one for
Of
me.
course.
Especially at first. Like I got a iPod right around the same time.
Okay,
first
so the
iP-
first iPod,
first gen
01,
iPod.
02 in that.
Yeah,
in
I
that
think it was might have been
era,
right before I went to school. Right
Okay.
across, like 2001. So 2001. And you're like getting like a 64 like a maybe a 50 gig iPod or 25 gig iPod
Mhm.
and having a cable modem and unlimited access to songs was like, it just was like, this is the absolute feature. Nothing can possibly top
Did you
this.
have like the shared iTunes like in your dorm situation?
We had Direct Connect.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
you
same.
could download any movie in a matter of seconds.
Mhm.
Like every person's shared music library.
Yep.
So like if I wanted to like I was a big emo fan at that point. So
course.
like if I wanted to download a Jimmy Eat World album, I had access to every Jimmy Eat World album, a bunch of live bootlegs,
Mhm.
like any possible thing in the matter of seconds. After years ago, I would not have had access. I could not have even a year before have listened to a song of theirs on the internet.
Right.
Like it was that amount. That was that sort of jump overnight.
How quickly did you both go from, okay, here's your standard AOL chat room, AOL profiles, blah, blah, blah. And then there's news groups.
Oh,
There's
man.
alt dot whatever. And if you're somebody responded with like, I was an Islanders fan, I was just burning up the like alt dot Islanders.
Alt that sports dot
Yeah.
new dash York dash Islanders.
Yes.
I think I did it for like a week.
Okay.
Then I was like, I can't.
I found
never-
albums, like people would post like actual downloadable, interesting
Yeah, I mean,
things to
it
me.
was very much a thing. I just I could never get into it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
IRC?
It was intense.
Oh, IRC for sure.
Yeah.
IRC was
that
a
was
thing.
more 2000, 2001 for me.
Slapping people with a fish on IRC.
Yeah,
That's right. 'cause
true.
IRC was another means of getting files too.
Of course.
Shout
Shout out Video Pimp.
absolutely. If you were
Were you a Video Pimp?
My username was Video Pimp. That checks out.
if you were looking for something that wasn't on Napster, you could always find it on
Yes.
IRC.
And then you had the naps, not clones, but like there were a bunch of, Kazaa and Audio
Kazaa,
Galaxy, Morpheus.
Scoured.net,
Yep.
Morpheus, BearShare, which all had were viruses.
Yes, but
if I
that's
remember
early
correctly.
2000s. That's-
LimeWire.
Audio
Napster-
Galaxy.
I want to go back to Napster because one, I loved Winamp so much.
who
And
doesn't?
Winamp skins.
Yeah,
I had a
skins.
Pioneer
See,
skin.
I gotta admit, I was a Music Match Jukebox guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Came with the first iPod.
Nobody's perfect.
yeah.
Ah, I'm
That's
sorry.
true.
I'm the only human.
I used the hell out of Winamp. The visualizer for Winamp.
I never understood that. I still don't.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But I had like a Pioneer. You remember Pioneer Audio, like
Sure.
the somewhat higher end.
Like Sub Monster.
Yes, I had a Pioneer skin, and I felt like I was souping up my Winamp.
Yeah.
Like I was getting extra good audio quality because somebody decided to
They-
slap a Pioneer
Yeah,
logo.
They nailed the levels on this one.
Yes. Ooh, the mix is just a little bit better.
Yeah.
But Napster-wise, I had a huge library. I'm sorry, recording industry and Artists of America.
I actually have an interesting story on this because one of my good friends from high school was actually on the early Napster beta. Okay, so we're talking about the people who had Napster before the world had Napster, where he is communicating with the creators of Napster.
Like Sean Fanning is on the other side.
Northeastern graduate Sean Fanning.
Yeah, there is
nice.
an email, or was an email on his machine from Sean Fanning inviting him to be part of a broader scale
incredible.
beta. And I believe many of the individuals who were on that beta were later in some sort of legal peril.
Of course.
Because of the copyright infringement situation that came about from Napster. But Napster changed the world. It changed the world.
Napster changed the world, but it didn't really, we weren't arrested, as far as I know, for downloading songs. My question is, though, Napster's one thing. Napster plus a CD burner.
Oh.
Yeah.
How early were you in having a tower with CDR capabilities?
I was pretty early.
Bill?
I was pretty early on the train.
I was not either.
Yeah, I was pretty early.
I remember Andrew Einhorn, who was also responsible for my pinky being short, by the way. He was a very early...
He's in the Yakuza?
He's in the Yakuza. People don't know that about him. No, I'm almost positive it was him, maybe Matt Levan. I know these names mean a lot to you. But they had CD burners and would bring CDs to school, and it was their writing and a Sharpie on the CDs, not the actual printing from like a press of a CD. And I felt like they were living in the future.
Sure.
Somehow their dads robbed like a shipping container that came over from Japan. Like, how were they allowed to have this technology?
Right.
And for months anyway, they were on a higher social strata because
they had that 2X CDR.
Create.
Yeah, that CDRW.
They had that CDRW.
I mean, that was a legitimate thing in school.
Yes,
like when I
enormous.
moved to Long Island, one of the first ways I made friends was that I knew how to edit autoexec.bat and config.sys files.
Wow.
And so like when people's computers, like I had a friend whose computer was like not running super well, and I'm like, oh, do this, this, and this, and I showed them, and they were like, wow, this is, you know how to fix this. And then I became friends with people because like we were the ones who had AOL,
Right.
and we would use AOL, and so it was like, well, this is the thing you do with your friends.
It's a big deal.
And then I remember in high school, like when Napster was around my final year, my senior year of high school, and showing people Napster for the first time,
mind blowing.
Yeah. Just like, because like people, you know, I found about it like slowly, like I heard about it, and then I was like, well, how good could it be? And I used it, and I was like, wow. But like just showing someone who had no idea it even existed, absolutely.
There were 3 distinct levels of Napster usage for me. The first was when you used it carefree.
Sure.
And downloaded at will stuff you didn't even want, but just because you could.
Yeah. This is now the 7th version of Every Morning by Sugar Ray I have on this computer, but why not?
It's true. Exactly. The second, I would say, status level would be, I know this is probably breaking some sort of law.
Okay.
Therefore, I'm going to use it, but sparingly.
Right. I'm going to pick my spots.
Pick my spots.
I'm only going to download like the Impossibles CD.
Right.
I'm only going to download like Nelly.
I don't know. I don't know if they're
ones.
watching me, but
Right.
just in case. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Then there was the third level where it was like, you know, I'm like 26. Maybe I should just afford.
It's time.
Maybe I should just go out and buy something.
Right.
You know, because really, if you think about it, Napster, whether it's Napster, Kazaa, Bearsh, all these file transfer services, they were the early pilot for the iTunes store.
Yeah, and what's strange, and I know you were into it somewhat, but Bill and I were probably a little bit deeper into that like emo pop punk around here. You couldn't get a lot of these records at like your local Sam Goody.
Oh, for sure.
And so Napster was, in a lot of ways, super good for a lot of exposure for these bands. They'd become popular. It was just untrackable, unmonetizable, and illegal. But I had access to so many, like just like Buck 09, you know, those types of bands that like, of course, like Blockbuster Music or The Warehouse isn't carrying them, but I could go see their show because I had heard of them, and I would go see their shows. And I'd buy their CDs at the shows.
We could probably do 15 shows on the Napster
for
topic.
Sure.
But that was the one thing that all the higher ups in the music industry overlooked. The discovery element of it.
For sure.
The discovery element of it is really what still drives it today. Not the fact that you can buy it online, but the fact that you can find new stuff.
And neither one of you got in trouble. Am I correct?
I never
Bill,
got in trouble.
Did you get a warning notice?
I didn't get any trouble from the DMCA, but my high school like study hall teacher yelled at me for
and it was
downloading stuff.
specifically he or she knew it was you.
I got pegged a couple times for exceeding bandwidth from my ISP
Interesting. Okay.
in college.
I got even more trouble. I had a great after school job, high school, senior year, where I would just watch the computer lab in the library, and like 2 people would come in every week, and that would be it. So it was great, sit there, do nothing. But the internet was like filtered. And I found a way to get past the filter and showed my friend Brian.
Well, how did you get past the filter?
I don't remember how I got past the filter, but there was a way.
Some of those early filtering mechanisms.
Not super.
There, it was a lot of duct tape and chicken wire.
I think I just set up I just connected to a proxy server,
right?
And that got past it. And so I showed my friend. He did it, and then a teacher saw him accessing something that was not appropriate for the internet.
Of course.
And he's like, "Oh, how'd you find that?" And he said he just sold me out, basically. And so then he got the summer job at the library, which is the primo job.
That's Kush, yeah, of course.
And the job I had been promised to also work with him did not ever show up.
Oh, Bill.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't think we ever got notices. I don't know if maybe we got bandwidth ones, but never DMCA. Anything like
so now you're talking about connecting to proxy servers. So this strikes me as a gentleman who knows his way around a computer. What else were you doing at that time? You mentioned programming,
sure,
autoexec.bat files.
Sure.
What other kinds of stuff were you experimenting with? This is not where I'm trying to go.
No, I understand.
But what kind of stuff were you playing around with as it relates to your computer?
Non-mainstream protocol.
It sounds way more illicit than it actually was.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, like I was teaching myself to program. Like I was learning QBasic. You know, I was basically trying to modify simple things, just trying to figure out like how I can get the most out of the computer.
Right.
I was, doing tiny things here or there. Like I was running DOS and high UMB as opposed to low DOS. I don't remember what that actually means.
Where are we going with this show?
But I went to school as a computer science major. So like that was like, oh, this is my thing. Like
reasonable.
I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And then I got there and I was there for a year and a half and I was like, this is actually not my thing.
This is hell.
And from that point forward, I have not been a programmer. I have not learned anything more about computers. And I am now just a total normie in terms of my computer usage.
True.
So up to that point, I was great, but now I know nothing.
Were you into, and I know Ty, I'm setting this up because I know Ty has a lot to say on the topic. So there were certain tools that people made for even just AOL.
Oh, sure.
So
I'm going to get more water.
Get more water, Ty. This is Ty's, when we were chatting about this show beforehand, he was like, I'm so happy for this show. This is my 27 year, my year 27, age 27, I'm rounding into my prime for this show. A popular one was AOL.
Sure, of course.
Ty mentioned, I think it was Fate. Fate. And basically it was a series of tools which you could mass mail people. You could punt people from AOL. You could put in weird or dirty ASCII things into chat rooms, and you could send an email from an email address that wasn't yours. It could appear to be from your email address. You could hide the actual sender. I loved it. It made me feel like I knew what I was doing, but I was just an ass. That's all it was me being an idiot dick. But I felt so much power coursing through my veins using all the proggies or progs.
You weren't a dirty Juarez boy, were you?
That actually sounds familiar. I don't know what that is. But it's
Juarez?
Oh, I know Juarez is a city, but what is Dirty Juarez?
Oh,
you're saying
I
say Juarez.
I was going to say.
Juarez.
Yeah, Juarez and Juarez is the Yanni and Laurel of
I say
90s
Juarez.
generation.
Oh.
Because I was always under the impression it was like softwares.
That does make sense.
I've gone both. I used to be Juarez. And then I had a computer science friend tell me that it was actually Wares.
I
switched.
I am the dirtiest of Wares boys. I use the hell out of Wares.
What's funny about those programs is, by modern standards, they were just like sophisticated macros.
Yeah,
they didn't really do anything. They're always like talking about all the cool stuff that you can do that they don't.
Right.
They don't want to tell you about.
And mind you, I used it to the very important thing I used it for was downloading Leisure Suit Larry 6.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. That's of course.
But my favorite was I was a Fate guy. Fate X.
I don't know Fate.
Fate X
I had
3.0.
to learn about this.
I remember pretty vividly. And the two things I remember about it is that when you started it up, there was a WAV or MP3 file of P. Diddy's I'll Be Missing You.
Oh,
that
boy.
one.
Yeah, of course.
And that would play for about 35 seconds when you first
That's
launched
so
it.
long.
Very long. Was not well
You have
thought
to
out.
wait out Diddy to start
You had to
hacking
wait
people?
out Diddy. And then there was an IM bomb, instant message
Oh, yeah.
bomb
Oh,
Of course.
no.
utility where you could just pick somebody and send them the same thing 100,000 times or whatever. But you could never really do a whole lot with them. And for
No.
me, using those programs was more about like, is there something I'm missing here that I can't do more?
Right.
Because it just seemed like it was marketed as like, oh, this is like the keys to the hidden city.
Mhm.
But then you would try to use it and you could never really modify the software the way you'd think.
Right. Okay.
That was disappointing to me.
I'm sorry to
Understandably.
hear that.
I was disappointed by that.
Bill mentioned running, building front page sports football stuff.
Oh, sure.
I don't, off the top of my head, I remember making sites, but it was more to just make and see what I could do with GIFs and writing,
Scrolling marquee.
linking.
Yeah.
Yes, all of those things. Oh, God bless the counter. Oh, you can
The
check the
hit
counter.
counter.
Oh my
The
God.
counter going on.
The guest book.
You got the guest book.
Always.
You're part of the web ring.
That's right.
You got that little Netscape Navigator
Oh, of
icon. You
course.
can download that for optimization purposes.
Until it's up, you're under construction.
You're under
always.
construction. You got stuff blinking. You got
Yes.
that little pop up when you go to the page asking for your name, so you insert that into the page.
Yep.
You go to, was it Matt's Script Archive? Download some
Oh, of
scripts.
course.
Yeah.
So I messed around with that, but not for any
Sure.
sort of purpose. I never had like a Pulp Fiction fan site. You know,
Right.
there was never like a
Right.
purpose to what I was building other than just like, hey, I'm Dan and this is my website. I made a website probably 2000 in Microsoft Publisher.
Sure.
Yeah.
Always fun. But I didn't have like a thing that I didn't have like an early version of a blog. I didn't have a fan site for something. What did you guys build aside from Bill's Front Page Sports that if you built anything, whether it's GeoCities, Angel Fire, whatever, that like you had a parked identity online?
I appreciate the setup here.
Yeah.
Because you know exactly where this is going to go.
Well, no, I know one of the answers. I don't know how
know-
many there are.
So, the first and most notable was that I started playing fantasy football
Mm-hmm.
among friends entirely manually based on the box scores in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
We would manually keep track
Oh, boy.
with our Byzantine scoring system with who was winning and who was losing.
Mhm.
As
In
of-
between all of the dates
In
that you guys
between
were all
all of
going
the
on.
dates.
Yeah.
this is as of like 1995,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
1994, before anything is
Yeah.
really out there online. And my initial test run with creating things on the internet
Mhm.
was creating just a site where we could look
Yeah.
to see who we had on our teams and
Yeah.
what the scores were.
Some standings. Yeah.
Right. So that was actually a very practical
Yeah. That
way
is
to
cool.
use it. And in between, you kind of mess around and figure out other things that you can do.
And that site grew into yahoo.com.
What's that?
That site grew into yahoo.com.
That's Yahoo.com,
Yahoo.com.
sold for several billions.
Yeah.
But the most notable was the article I sent you,
Oh,
Mhm.
no.
where at my junior year playing varsity baseball,
Mhm.
I did not play a lot of varsity baseball on that team.
You were baseball adjacent.
That's right. That's right. I was a participant
Uh-huh.
on that team, and my junior year anyway was the designated scorekeeper and or sign stealer,
Oh, boy.
along with a really good friend of mine.
Uh-huh.
And so again, kind of building on this idea, we can use the internet to keep track of stuff.
Mhm.
We built a website for our varsity baseball team that made the local paper.
That's incredible.
In case you haven't heard, the world is going online.
Is this a John Boyce
He's
article?
reading the art. This is the article. I sent it to you.
I'm going to skip a little bit. Thus far, however, there are relatively few websites that contain extensive information on local high school sports teams that are constantly updated. That makes Steve Hinkle and Tyler Hildenbrandt pioneers. This is from the Allentown Morning Call.
Yeah.
Man. Local
So-
papers.
Ty is on a baseball team and he's being written up as a webmaster.
That's right. Yeah. And I remember the author of that article asking our coaches about it.
hmm
Like, have they filled you in on this? And it was as if they had seen a ghost or as if the author had two heads.
Of course.
Because back then it was like, what's this? Like, it's just something something the kids are
So
doing.
how old are you at this point? You're like 14, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
this is the time when, I mean, did you make anything else other than front page? Like, did you devote your time?
I'd say two things. Number one, I played fantasy sports at this time too.
Yeah.
But we played in my neighborhood in Queens, and it was fantasy baseball through the mail. So you would get
God.
you would get updates every week with like a printout that the commissioner would get and then like make copies of and give to you when you saw you on the street.
Yeah.
So it would be like a 15-page dot matrix printout of the numbers every week. And like
Dossier, essentially.
But like fantasy football and hockey, same thing. We were just watching like the ESPN2 bottom line and then just writing it down and then comparing it at the end of the week. But I did not. I'm sure I did, but I don't remember what it was. All I remember is that it was on the GeoCities site in the Coliseum neighborhood.
That was your hood.
That was my hood.
I was also a Coliseum guy.
Times
You were a
Square.
resident. Okay.
I thought about Times Square. I was open to Times Square. There were other ones I was considering, but Coliseum is sports related. You figure that's got to be the way to
Sang
go.
to you. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is though an important time because we mentioned AIM or AIM. I think I always called it AIM, to be honest.
So did I. Yeah.
I called it Juarez.
Yanni. It's no matter what you're doing with websites, no matter what you're doing with fantasy sports, and I do have a really bad, shameful fantasy sports story to tell.
Oh, no.
But AIM was the center of the universe
Sure.
because, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, I assumed the three of us were not necessarily the most popular, the most charming, especially with people we were trying or we had crushes on or anything like that.
Sure.
But you're a different self online.
That's
And
right.
you're not anonymous with these people. Obviously, you've shared your screen names, whatever. And so, like, you're talking to these people. But you get home from school, you pop open AIM, person signs on, and you're just cracking knuckles. And you're like, all right,
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we
Is
go.
today the day? I can't chat her. Maybe she'll IM me. But then you start thinking about, oh, what's a good entry? Like let me hi. Hi. Let me tell you about 16-year-old Dan. Eventually did all right with AIM and essentially started dating somebody because I was pretty good on AIM because it was way better than I could be in person. Because in person was an even worse version of that. Hi. So AIM did actually work out well for me eventually. Late nights, chatting well into the night. But the idea of signing online, seeing her also then sign on, and then have her IM you, it's your heart is like soaring through your ribs.
Okay.
I cannot overstress the extremes that feeling gave me.
I could do this for a half hour.
Yeah.
So stories about that.
Yeah.
I can say that the most satisfaction I've ever felt about anything I've ever written
Whoa.
Yeah, no, this is totally true.
is that like I put some like pithy emo-ish thing in my AIM profile and my crush took it and put it in her profile.
That's incredible.
And quoted me. I saw that. and I was
So
like,
with attribution.
yes, it was like Bill Barnwell.
So it was like you miss all the shots you can't take. Wayne Gretzky, Bill Barnwell.
Yes. but this was not. I was not quoting a band. I
Right.
this myself. So it was like that was the like,
So was it something like poetic and deep that you
they-
thought of?
like 18-year-old me,
Of course.
But sure, that was I think the goal.
There is no bigger and better feeling.
No, it
than
was incredible.
That like the affirmation on AIM through chatting, through away messaging, through this is my screen name. We should chat online, whatever. That is, I don't know if it's like just fake endorphins screwing your brain up, but that to me is like if I'm thinking of one like lasting emotion from like the high school digital experience, it is that, and I don't know that there's a second place.
Oh, I mean, like not only in high school but then in college there was that thing
For
where,
sure.
Like I remember there'd be like a Friday night where I wouldn't go out, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm a loser. I'm not going out." And like I wouldn't touch AIM because I wouldn't want my name to go from grayed out.
You don't want to be
on the
active
keyboard
on Friday
to
night.
black to
Yeah,
active.
of course.
But then, of course, if I saw that the girl I liked was signing on, then suddenly I'm like, I'm back, baby. I'm right. Let's talk. And I remember my friend, on the other hand, who developed several AIM hacking things and warnings, which we can get to as well. He started talking to this girl at school online. And the way that she showed him that she liked him was that when he put on his away message and went to sleep, when he came back, she had sent him no fewer than 740 messages.
Whoa.
Because the counter showed up on your
Yes.
list, which was like not only just like you would have your away message, but underneath it would be like
How
this
many-
person 2 messages, this person 3 messages.
Yes.
And so like that would be the first thing you would see when you'd wake up would be like who sent me messages, how many they sent, and 700 messages.
That's
from this girl.
numerous messages.
You're not going to believe this. That relationship did not work out.
Wow.
It was not a sustainable pace.
They seem so good together too.
Yeah, no, she really seemed like she
What were your strategies for away messages?
Oh,
Because
man.
you know there were the most obvious was of course like
lyric.
the song lyric
Sure.
meant something to you. But then there were other quotables that you could pull from Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, whoever.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you could actually like write where you were.
Sure.
You're like, I'm going out with my parents. Like, hit me.
Hit the cell.
Hit the cell. Which, of course, if you had a cell in like 1999,
Sure.
F you. Come on. But no, if it would be like, or give me a call on this line, or send me an email here, or leave where you guys are going to get burgers or whatever. That's the more innocent of the away message game.
because I bring that up because you guys are talking about strategies, you know, the heart beating out of the chest.
God.
Oh, for sure.
I'm getting worked up just thinking about
Yeah, I
it.
can see. Go get some water for yourself. But there was also the strategy of like, I'm just gonna play it cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put up the away message that's meaningful to me and maybe somewhere out there meaningful to someone else too.
I would say nobody.
And so then it turns into a bit of a fishing exercise where
Yeah.
it's like maybe if I get the message to this hook, you know, maybe we're talking
Not
then-
girlfriends in high school, Ty?
so many.
But then there's the other side, which is, of course, the original subtweet, which was the I'm going to leave this vaguely
Oh my
angry
God.
away message,
Yes.
but I'm not going to point out who it's for or what it is, but they know what it means.
I think basically you could tell my emotional state. Ups and downs, essentially 91% if you just looked at my away
of
message
course.
from 1999 through like 2002.
Of course. Absolutely.
And it would
100%.
be like happy, weird quotes from emo bands when things were good, and it would just be down, down, down. What's wrong with Dan when things were not
Oh,
going super
boy.
well? You could fully gauge. If you really want to know where my head was at, you didn't have to think any harder than looking at my away message.
So you listed those 3 different kinds of away messages.
Yeah.
When I first got to college and I could use AIM every day for the first time, really, one of the things that I found really exciting was I could just do all those things in my away message. So I would have like emo song lyric. I'd have like update on what's going on in my life. And then I would have like, this is where I am right now.
You blogged your away message.
Pretty much, yeah. So like other people had like one line. Mine was like 3 paragraphs long. Like I don't remember there being a huge limit on what you could do. So it was kind of ridiculous. Maybe not appropriate.
I remember AOL AIM member profiles being like early blogs.
Well, there was the AOL profile, which was like a ton of real
Yeah.
estate.
There was a lot there.
Whole page.
Yeah.
But then the AIM profile as well, you could sort of like expand upon your worldview a little bit
Yeah.
there and put yourself out in a more visible way.
You could put your important emo poetry and then have
Your
the
emo
girl-
poetry.
have a girl copy.
Did you ever have, and I wrote this down in our notes, and I didn't, but I knew somebody who did. That sounds like it's me, but I trust me, it is not me. I
have
cop
a
to this.
friend whom
So the idea of an online girlfriend.
Oh boy.
This is like the
Nah.
pre-Lene Kakua. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about catfishing. I'm like actually just like, oh, this is a person I met online, and we've never met in person. We don't necessarily have an intention to, but it's just somebody I like talking to.
listen, Dan,
Yeah.
when you're running a website for your high school baseball team,
You don't have time.
you just don't have time for an internet girlfriend. So I'm out on this
a
one.
good buddy of mine in high school. I had like,
Rand Dubinstein.
Rand Dubinstein. Don Robertson. No, a good friend of mine in high school did.
Really?
And told me about her. And I remember talking to what I presume, but cannot guarantee, was a girl my own age. And I remember like having a conversation with her, and like it would get like personal, just like asking about each other's lives. But it never got to any sort of like actual relationship.
What
of
are
any
you
kind.
wearing?
It was never creepy.
Okay, that's good.
And at this point, I would tell you, because what do I? I'm married. My wife is not divorcing me because of this. Shout out Jody with an I. But I remember talking to somebody like that. I was like, oh, it's very easy to meet these supposed new people. But this buddy of mine, had what he considered to be like more than just like a chat buddy. And they made plans to meet in person.
Oh boy.
And they like They planned. I have no idea, was going to be in LA. And my buddy was like 15, 16, something like that. And she was going to be in like Long Beach, which is nowhere near where we lived. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, I think we're going to like the Long Beach Aquarium or something like that. Why don't we meet in front of the aquarium? And my buddy had to convince his parents to drive him like an hour away so he could meet his online girlfriend. She never showed.
No.
She never, because of course she didn't. But like, that was a thing where like when he was telling me this, I was like, I don't know fully how the internet works. This sounds like it could be a thing. I don't know. I'm a very stupid 15 or 16-year-old. And then when he told me she didn't show, I was like, yeah, well, those are the breaks. I don't know. Chicks, man.
Yeah. They're the worst.
But yes, that was a thing that happened to him. And that was like, looking back, you're like, that's super effing weird.
Of course it is.
But when you're that age and the internet is, it's 1999. The AOL's been around for 6 years, 5 years, whatever. You have no idea what like protocol is with meeting people online.
Oh, I mean, like my friend was we were 18, and this is not me. This is honestly my friend. I was there, but like he started talking to this girl on like a 9 Inch Nails message board. Yeah, and then like we were there talking, and he's talking to her a bunch, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just go play Metal Gear Solid while you talk to this girl. That's fine.
Yeah. Quake 3.
Yeah,
this all checks out.
And then. A few hours pass and it's like midnight, and I'm like, so I should probably, like, I didn't have a car, and he had a car, and he's like, I should probably go home. And he's like, I'm gonna go meet this girl in New Jersey.
Oh. And this is not close to New Jersey.
No, this is like Long Island. This is like it's a 2-hour drive, and like your parents are home. Like you have to kind of get out without your parents seeing. And so he drove to New Jersey and hung out with this girl all night.
So she was real.
She was real, as far as I know, unless he's been lying about it ever since, which is not out of the question.
No, it's not at all. I would 100% lie if I were driving 2 hours.
He got to the Vince Lombardi rest stop and then called it a night and ate some Nathan's while this girl did not respond. But I guess they met up. And like that was impossible to believe could happen 100%. At the time.
Did any of you guys dabble in the AOL chat rooms?
Of course.
Online host and me were good friends. I was rolling dice. I was rolling dice in the AOL chat rooms all the time. I was part of. I'm sure it must have been like an e-wrestling fed where you like roll dice to determine what happened with the moves. I would guess.
Wow.
Something I would. Wow. I don't remember the specifics, but that does sound like something I did in the past.
The AOL chat rooms were like really.
It's Wild Wild West.
It was the early Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is like what it amounted
ASL.
to.
Sure.
Right. You'd hop in, and then people would be like, press 9 if you like Boys to Men.
And 99999.
And it's like, okay, well, we're chatting. This is great.
God, that would be such a good memoir name. Press 9 if you like Boys to Men for the 90s episode. Maybe that's the name of our episode. And it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense
if you're
whatsoever.
scrolling and you see Pac-12 preview, ACC preview.
I think you're about to just call it 99999.
99999.
So what did you guys do on the internet beyond chatting with friends? So I'm not trying to take this to a nefarious place, but like seriously, what did you do? Because as we got older, you get to college, you got a faster internet connection. All of a sudden, you can play games a little bit more easily online. Not that you couldn't before, but now you've got
faster connection.
You've got the Ethernet connection. Sure. Quake 3, Quake whatever online.
A lot of high school Counter-Strike for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that you can play all of a sudden. But when you're not playing games, when you're not chatting with friends, it's sort of like a new place.
Oh, there's a lot of sports.
What are you doing?
I was reading a lot of sports, playing fantasy sports, especially when it like moved online. In
Yahoo?
Earnest. Yeah, 100% Yahoo.
Yeah.
When was Kurt? You would know this because football is what you do. When was Kurt Warner's first year with the Rams where he exploded after Trent Green?
It would have been 99.
It was 99?
I believe so, yeah.
I was the first year I played fantasy football. And
you had Kurt Warner?
After week 1, when he threw for a bajillion passes, I had Kurt Warner and like Isaac Bruce, and I just ran things. My fantasy sports story is I went to a couple years. I went to like a camp or an academy, whatever, at Stanford for tennis, not academics, please. And it was, there were boys, there were girls, whatever. Everybody's 14, 15, hormones are raging, whatever.
Of course, yeah.
No, this is totally G-rated. But I remember specifically, I was like hitting it off with the girl. We were like 15 years old, and we're all staying in dorms. This is total. Again, Bill's covering his face because he thinks I'm going to a disgusting. I'm not at all. And like we would hang out, and the more we would hang out, the more I got antsy about not knowing what was going on with my fantasy baseball team. And mind you, this is Stanford. Even though it's Stanford, this is 1998 or so. Nobody brought laptops. There's no, obviously, iPads, iPhones, nothing like that. And there's only one place to check my fantasy team. And that's the Stanford bookstore. Because like the downstairs basement had computers that were connected to the internet at a pretty fast rate. And I remember specifically like near the end of this week, because it's a week-long like sleepaway camp, this tennis camp, she wanted to hang out. And I don't even think we had kissed or anything like that. It was just like hearts beating kind of thing. And I was like, I had this like fork in the road moment where I was like, hang out with this pretty girl as like a 14 or 15-year-old, or check to see like what Bernie Williams did for my 1998 ESPN. Remember Baseball Challenge?
Sure.
A salary cap league?
Sure.
So that's something you had to update that. Mm-hmm. This isn't like you drafted a team in the spring and you're making moves. It's a weekly update. So like Bernie Williams, if he goes off that week, his price is going to be more expensive, not be able to keep him or something like that. And at a certain point, I was just like, baby, I gotta go.
This brings up 3 different stories.
Javi Lopez is going off.
Jeff Blauser is having a great day.
Baby.
This brings up 3 different stories.
So that lets you know how my creepiness level
there
as like a 14-year-old.
Thank you for clarifying. That's good.
14-year-old me as a 19-year-old in college stopped talking, like ended a conversation with a very attractive girl who I would like to be friends with because I wanted to go home and read the Bill Simmons column, which I knew gone up at a particular time at a particular
What year
day.
is this?
This is 2002.
Okay.
So like I knew, okay, Tuesday, 4 p.m. I got to get there. See you later. Very nice lady who's talking to me. I'm going to go
priorities.
Read this sports thing now. Worked out well in the long run for me, I suppose.
Yes, it did.
Number 2, I remember going to Disney when I was a junior in high school and going to like the $5 for 10 minutes internet thing in Disney to check out a pro wrestling news board to see what happened in ECW that week. So I had that happen.
Yep.
My big thing was I played that football game, Front Page Sports Football Pro. And you would like exchange playbooks every week. You would exchange games every week. And so there was one week where I was in the finals of a league for the first time. And I was playing this guy, and you could see what they plays they ran week before. And you could do custom plays. You could take plays from the game. And this guy had a punt block play that blocked like 3 punts in the previous game. And I'm like, how do I beat this guy? And I realized if I just run a fake punt every time, they can't cover it.
Right.
And so there was a guy.
That's like the Joe Montana football thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I assumed, basically I'm assuming they're going to run the same punt block play this week. So why not run the fake punt every time? And I could tell my team, I had to like code it in, but I could tell my team every time run a fake punt, unless it's 4th and 30. And there was this guy who was doing, a friend of mine who was doing commentary on this game on real audio.
Okay, of course.
And so they released the real audio file of the game. That's how you found out whether you won or lost. And so, of course, every time I got the 4th down, it's like, well, here comes the punt. Oh, it's a fake. And I won the game like 57-3 because I ran a fake punt every single time. And this guy was so upset. I was like, you can't do that. But of course, it was totally legal.
You're what's the word I'm looking for? You're like, if you were playing a video game and you were always using the same, like if you're playing Street Fighter, you were like cheap, essentially.
Sure.
You were, oh my God. I'm trying to, in the back of my mind, I'm hearing.
I know the word.
What?
It's Juarez.
Juarez. As I'm hearing Bill tell the story about programming and fake punts in Front Page Sports, the gears that are turning in my brain are basically telling me, how do we top this depth of nerdiness next year? How do we go deeper into our disgustingly nerdy digital souls to top this?
I don't know. Fake punt may
do you have
take the cake?
And I think I tried to stress that I was keeping the Tennis Academy story PG.
Yes. No, you said G.
Excuse me. Do you have a PG-13 story you'd like to share?
From
about
the
internet usage. I'm not talking. I don't care. Like everybody's looked at porn. That doesn't matter. That's boring. But do you have a story involving anything with like library, accidental? Like, is there anything like embarrassing that either happened to you or anybody you knew?
I have a story.
Okay.
A dude tried to groom me on the internet, and I wrote about it for
groom you.
Yeah, try like a clearly an adult man, like found my profile and tried to like
come on to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like was like, hey, let's talk on the phone. And
wow.
My grandma was watching me and she's like, I don't know. Sure, why not?
He seems nice.
Yeah. And so like he called and like said some creepy stuff. And I honestly did not know what he was talking about. And so I kind of was just like, I don't know. Like, that's weird. I wrote about it for This Recording, which is an internet website that I worked on with Molly Lambert years and years ago. So it's on there, the full story. It's not super, it's a little creepy.
Okay.
But I'm not the creepy one. I'm like
Right.
the naive, like, I don't know what you want me to do, sir.
Right.
In this scenario. So then he kind of like realized I did not know what he was talking about and kind of like disappeared and was like, don't tell anybody. But yeah, so I was almost the victim of some real creepy stuff.
Oh, wow. Ty?
I got nothing like
embarrassing?
I got nothing like that.
The
no.
only thing that I can point to that is, I think it just speaks to, it's so specific for this time. And I'm going to tell you, this is me. Yes. Bill.
Sorry, I forgot. I apologize.
Yeah.
I remember his screen name.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His screen name was Hot Umbros.
Oh, you
Oh,
see, you
wow.
should have said right there. If you were really a comedic mind.
I'm not. I'm a football writer.
I know. No, the only like real story that's just like of this time that is just, it's super embarrassing, but I'm just going to roll with it because this is of this show.
It's a show about honesty.
It's a show about honesty. Is I remember coming across on AOL or probably in a browser that like, oh, there are websites with women not wearing clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wait.
I came across a shot of, I probably couldn't even remember the name if I thought about it, but somebody in Playboy,
Sure.
a playmate of some kind, human most likely. And I remember coming across, I was like, my friends are never going to believe me that I found this, but I'm not going to send it to them because then they'll get in trouble.
Right.
So I don't want them to come over. I don't want my computer privileges taken away. So I very quickly printed the picture
No.
as any respectful 14-year-old would do. Printed the picture, folded it into like 8, you know, and like put it under some sort of, not furniture, but like a wooden chest or something that was in my room.
Sure.
And at some point in the next couple of weeks, I probably forgot about it.
Oh no.
And my mom was in my room looking for a book and like moved the chest, and the folded picture fell from underneath the chest and it fell onto the ground. And my mom opened the piece of paper
Whoa.
with me sitting right there.
No.
And it was just a black and white printout of a playmate that I printed out to show my friends how expert I was at the internet. And my mom looked at the picture, and it is etched into my brain, scarred into my brain, something like, these look like rice bowls. This is not what women look like. And I was like, I need to implode unto myself right now, Mom. Please leave forever. As my mom was discussing fake boobs with 14-year-old Dan.
Yeah, I didn't,
at that point,
have
Danny
anything
Rubenstein.
quite like that.
I can tell an embarrassing
Rice
story.
bowls.
Not that level of embarrassing.
Yeah.
But when I was 17 or 18, I was an emo fan.
Obviously.
I had friends who were emo kids. They were like, "Hey, you should sign up for Makeout Club." Which is,
Okay.
are you familiar with Makeout Club? It is a, as you can probably figure out, a punk and emo themed,
Yep.
I guess online dating / friend thing. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, like me with friends here. It's cool." And so I was back in New York. This was like my first summer. I would have been 18, my first summer back from college. And so like my friends were in Boston. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do this, whatever. And I started talking to this girl. I don't think I told this story on the emo show, but it's emo show related.
Okay.
Started talking to this girl, and she's like, "Oh, do you like STD?" And I was like, "No, that's awful.
Yeah.
It's gross." And then she was like, "You don't?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Oh, Saves the Day."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, I like Saves the Day." But then I was so embarrassed that I ended the conversation.
Yeah,
and deleted
there's
my-
no coming back
deleted
from
my
that.
account. No, I just also deleted my account and never went back on the site again.
Yeah. Faked your own death. Yeah, that all
so
makes
this
sense.
is the end of this.
So one thing that we did not mention, not to take too hard of a turn here,
Mhm.
AOL 40-hour free CDs.
Yeah. The whole idea of CDs is madness in 2018.
It's total
Yeah.
madness. But we can't talk about this era of the internet without talking about the 40 free hours that you get from AOL.
Of course.
How people would hoard those CDs. I had friends who would have 8-10 different screen names because they were somehow able to acquire that many CDs.
Sure.
And you could get on the internet for free for an extended period of time, just using CDs that were sent to you, that were sent to friends, that grandparents couldn't use, anything. Were you a 40-hour free CD kind of guy?
At some point, yeah, I would use those. Eventually, no, but we had an AOL account. I don't know if it was unlimited at that point. There's a certain number of hours you get, I think, with
I remember the
AOL.
point where it went from being like an hourly thing to you
Yes.
can get this in an unlimited rate.
Unlimited, yes.
Prodigy actually, remember when we got our first computer, Prodigy gave us like a year for free. Like they were like, you have this incredibly long period of time where
Net Zero was always for free.
Yeah, like you couldn't use it for like, you know, more than a certain number of hours a week, but it was free for like an extended period of time.
Was anyone here on Juno?
Yeah, a little bit. I dabbled.
I was aware of Juno, but
Yeah.
I never used it. Was it also did like AOL or Prodigy buy Juno at some point?
I think
They had
Prodigy.
to have.
I want to say Prodigy
I
bought
feel like
Juno.
it merged at some point. 'Cause I never
somebody.
used it, but I was aware of it.
It was an interesting concept. It wasn't a bad concept. It would dial up, pull down your email, disconnect. That's all it did. Just an email service that would dial up, get it, disconnect.
So kind of like Crimson Tide, like they would surface just high enough.
That's right.
Just high enough to get the message and then
That was
then
it.
sink back down. Fair.
That was all it was.
So earlier today, I asked Twitter, what do you remember most fondly about the late 90s internet and
Can I say something
computers?
really quickly?
You may.
It is so different talking about this era of my life that I'm so fond of in the past.
Yeah.
And thinking about Twitter now that is this awful thing
It's
that
so
I
bad.
wanna just disappear from the internet every
This
time I use
at
it.
least this thread of replies.
No. The fans of Solid Verbal are great. But I'm
Yes, of
saying,
course.
like, the people who are in my mentions,
Right.
they are bad.
They're probably bad, but they might have some similarly good memories.
Yes.
So I asked people what do they remember most fondly. I'm not going to go through all of these, but stop me when any of these jump out to you that we haven't mentioned. First of all, multi-CD installation. Please insert disc 4 of 7.
Yes.
Madness.
I remember playing like Hardball 3 for the PC
Yeah.
and having like this like weird like copy protection, like go to page 73 of the manual, sentence 4, line 2.
Or in the middle of a game
Yes.
where you'd come to a critical stage, please insert disc 3.
For sure.
You know, it couldn't all fit on one CD, 2 CDs.
A lot of people mentioning the AOL dial-up sound,
Sure.
Yeah.
which, by the way, if you weren't supposed to be online, would totally blow up your spot
Absolutely.
to your parents. Because all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm doing my homework. Bee-doo. That was the word, but also kind of great.
Yes.
A lot of people talking about different games. We have a Snood reference in here.
Ooh.
Love Snood.
Wow.
When I would play Snood, like the Snood characters would haunt me in my sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I could see them.
You can't play a little bit of Snood.
No.
No, a lot of bit of Snood. We got some ASL references, which, yeah.
Did
that
you
was-
ever actually ASL someone
Yes,
though?
absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think I did.
I felt like that's what you were supposed to do
Yeah,
upon
that's
entering an
that. I was
AOL
going to say
chat
that's
room.
why I did it.
Yeah.
I see.
because it just seemed like it was the thing.
It was decorum.
That's right.
Interesting.
Right. It was a salutation.
People remembering aspect ratio not aspect ratio, but resolution jumps in their monitors very fondly.
Oh, sure. I remember going from EGA to VGA.
Of course.
Yeah.
So Seth is like going from 1024 to 760 by 768 after 800 by 600. Big
Is
jump.
this Seth Rosenthal?
It is not Seth Rosenthal, unfortunately. A lot of Napster references. A lot of we got Dancing Baby.
Yeah.
Sure.
One of the original.
And the
I
flying
guess, memes.
toaster
Yeah.
screensaver.
You know what I played yesterday was you mentioned the Buddy Holly video. I played the ski game, the Windows ski game. That
Yes.
has
Oh, yeah.
the bear that ate you at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've got a couple Encarta references.
Yeah.
So some of this was a good one. Discovering Cliff's notes like summaries of most books I had to read in English. I think it was Barron's notes or Pink Monkey, something like that. I definitely utilized.
Barron's or Pink Monkey? Like
Yes.
those are not like two relatively similar
No,
things.
not at all. But good for Pink Monkey for differentiating.
Yeah.
So we got some Winamps. ICQ references. If
Yeah.
AIM was too mainstream
I
for
did
you.
have I had a 7-digit ICQ number that was, I believe, reasonably rare.
Okay.
I feel like most people had like a 8-digit number. Like it was like it was an order of when you subscribe or when you downloaded it. I'd use it like once every year and a half, and I'd be like, oh, remember all these people? I have an ICQ, and then I'd never use it again. I had a Microsoft Messenger as well.
Yeah.
You guys,
Sure.
MSN Messenger people.
I don't know if I ever used
I used that. I did. Yeah.
Let's see, just a lot of CDs. This is so great. A lot of modem references. We got a couple under construction gifs. This one spoke to me. Getting the newest versions of Coral Draw and Mist at Costco.
Ooh. Were you Mist guys?
I was not a Mist
I was
guy.
into Mist.
I played a lot of
into Mist.
triple play baseball.
Sure. Who
Play
does
that too?
I played a lot of hardball, a lot of front page sports baseball.
Mm-hmm.
There were some early versions of the NCAA video game series that you could play on the computer.
Oh yeah, I definitely did.
That were a lot of fun. You could get the controller, the Gravis gamepad. Everyone remember
Oh,
the Gravis
yeah.
gamepad?
I was knee deep into Gravis, and I remember a buddy of mine got a cable card
Yeah.
for his tower. Haupage, I believe. I don't know how that company is pronounced. Haupage, whatever. It's in New York. And he put in a card in his tower, and he could watch TV
That's
on his
crazy.
computer.
Yeah,
Blew
that was
my
sort of the
mind.
white whale of
Yes.
the late 90s and early 2000s being able to do that.
He would have one window of AIM and another window of like Roy
CNN.
Firestone, whatever he was watching. And it was mind blowing.
That's incredible. I did not have that.
I did in college because I
Really?
saved room. My college gateway, I got that. That was a big deal to me to have that TV and computer in one. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Anything else, Ty, that strikes you, that's personal to you about whether it's computers you used, whether it's people you spoke to, any weird emails?
Yeah, I mean, it was just such a formative time.
I got to college and I was on Morpheus, like hour one.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
American Pie 2, please. We're talking hundreds of kbps.
I would like to go back in time and just take a good look at like the transaction logs of all the weird things I downloaded, basically because I could. You know, a lot of Limp Bizkit on that list.
Yeah.
I saw a Limp Bizkit baseball jersey at a Seattle Flip Stop a couple of weeks ago. I would have bought it for you, Ty.
Yeah.
Thank
Ty,
you.
You gotta
Yeah,
be quick.
I haven't downloaded Limp Bizkit in a while.
That's fair.
But yeah, just the ability to connect instantaneously with your closest friends was like a huge jump forward. And I'm always kind of amazed thinking back how quickly it took hold of our generation.
Yeah.
Because it really did just come on very quickly. Before you knew it, everyone had it.
It rewired our brains.
Totally.
For
Oh,
sure it did.
In probably a lot of negative ways.
Yeah.
But also it was like the early foundation for what we have now, where we're hyper connected via text message and Twitter and all that stuff. But AIM to me was like the bedrock of a good 5-6 years of my childhood.
Oh, for sure. It's impossible to imagine college without AIM, and it's impossible to imagine what my life was like before that, where it was like, okay, well, I have 90 minutes on the computer today. I'm going to have to use that, and I can't Google anything. I can't connect with people unless they send me an email message. Like pre-AIM, like it just was not. It's unfathomable. To me.
One of my lasting I don't want to go to a dark place with this, but 9/11 happened when we were in college.
Yeah. It happened 2 days before I was supposed to go to
it happened.
college.
I drove up from New York to Boston 4 days after 9/11
I drove LA to Eugene.
So
right
this
after.
was my sophomore year of college. Started my sophomore year of college. And my lasting memory of that day, aside of everything else horrible that went on that day, was looking on September the 11th, 2001, that night after it all happened, at everyone's away message. Because the world was glued to the TV, right?
Yeah.
And everyone had the same kind of away message up, surreal, awful. Like no one knew what to say, but that was their way to say it through AOL.
So strange.
Instant Messenger. No one was IMing because no one was interested in that then because it was so traumatic. But I just remember looking at the list of all my friends, however many friends I had on the buddy list at the time, everyone having an away message up and every single one of them striking the same tune.
And
it was incredible.
It's 17 years ago. It's not all that different from Twitter.
No, it's not. It's not.
It really is
we
kind of the same
haven't
thing.
come all that far from away messages. That's the actual problem.
No, of course. But that's among many other joyful things. That's one thing that is just burned into my brain as like, wow, this was.
Well, this really was a bell curve of an emotional
Well,
show, huh?
We're running the gamut here, man.
Let me try and take it back to a friendlier note when it comes to AIM. Let me tell you a story about a con that I narrowly avoided.
So there's this Notre Dame middle linebacker, right?
Really good.
Yeah, super, super good. Anyway,
So-
we gets to talking.
So I was in college and it was like 2 a.m. and I was programming stuff for my computer science class with my friend. And we're like, we're hungry. Let's go to 7-Eleven. So we walk to 7-Eleven and we see this guy and he tells us, hey, I'm stuck in Boston for the night. Like I'm trying to get back to Providence and I have $100 bill and I can't use that to pay for the bus. So if you can just go to your ATM, take out $80, which was a good amount of money for people who were in college.
Yeah.
And money. And give me 420s, I'll give you the $100 bill. You get $20. I get to go home. It's a win-win.
Right.
And I'm like, there's too many variables in this. Like, I don't think that's
and
a
he's
good
thought
idea.
this out too clearly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we I'm sorry, buddy, can't help you. Go to 7-Eleven, get, our Pepsi ones and our Mountain Dew Code Reds, and
Obviously.
go back and program, go to sleep. Wake up at 10 a.m. The first thing you do every morning is check everyone's away message. What's going on? And I check my other friend, Brendan's away message, and it says, I can't believe I just got conned out of $80.
Oh, no.
Brendan.
And piece it together. He gave the guy, went to the ATM, got the $80, gave the guy $80, and the guy was like, went into my house, I'm going to go to my house, get the $100, I'll come right back out. And never came
So
back
he
out of
didn't
the
even,
house.
I was thinking he had like a
No.
totally fake $100 bill.
No, he just was like, I'm going to go in this house, get the $100 bill, I'll be right back out. And Brandon waited for like a half hour. And I was like, I don't think this guy's coming back out, and left.
Oh, wow.
So you could find out about a lot of things on AIM. My friend, that same guy, punched the other guy who I was talking about and broke his nose. And I came back to our shared apartment, and there was blood all over the wall. And I checked my friend's away message, and he was like, "Yep, just went to the hospital with a broken nose." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Detective Barnwell.
Put two and two together
on
here.
the scene.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it was the primary mode of communication until people really had cell phones.
I miss it. I do.
Didn't they just sunset it not too long
Yes,
ago?
I think at the end of last year, AOL shut it down. Man.
It just like it feels like another universe, and
It does.
in a good way and a bad way. Like
Mhm.
I do appreciate being able to talk to people I care about more frequently and not being
Yeah.
emotionally dependent upon someone messaging me on AIM
Mm-hmm.
when their icon turns black. But I do think that it was simpler in a way that I found.
Yeah.
It
Easier to
100% made it easier for me to socialize in high school.
Oh, for sure.
Like I
Yeah.
would talk to people on AIM and then suddenly seeing them at school, you're like, oh yeah, remember we were talking about whatever, Mrs. Whoever, English class, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden it's just like, it broke down walls.
There were online friends of mine, people who I went to high school with,
Mhm.
who I didn't interact with at all in person.
So I did both.
I mean
let me be clear.
I mean, there were people that
Yeah.
I went to high school with whom I communicated solely through AOL.
A shadow friend.
Essentially. Essentially, yeah. I didn't really have any relationship with these people outside of just, hey, what's up?
Right.
Online. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely a different time. We're essentially carrying AIM with us now.
Yeah.
in our
Yeah, of course.
pockets
In our pockets.
via text message, but there was a simpler component to it. There were at least some barriers
Mhm.
with that, where if you're away or if you're offline, they can't reach you. Whereas now that's not exactly
Possible.
the case,
Yeah.
but it was a precursor to a lot of what we have now.
I am, even though it has rewired our brains, I am so much happier that I grew up. Like my formative years were late 90s instead of now. It's so much better.
Totally.
So that's all I have.
Anything else?
Still looking for that girl who. No, I'm very, very happily dating someone, and now we talk. Like we have an entire relationship where she lives in DC, I live here. Like most of our conversations are on GChat or
Yeah.
via Skype.
And you openly now know STD.
I know
You
STD.
talk STD
We
with
talk
your
about
girlfriend.
STDs.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
We practice safe listening to saves the day.
Yeah. Safe listening to saves the day.
Why don't we leave it at that?
Yeah.
This
That
has been
ties it all
fun.
together.
This has been very fun. We have to up the ante again next year. I don't know how we
I
up
don't
the
know
ante
what
next
it should
year.
be. I really don't.
I don't know how we do that, but we have a full year to think
Body
about it.
stuff. Just everything that's
Yeah,
gone right
just-
and wrong with our bodies.
No,
Yeah.
it's always has to be 90s body stuff.
Oh, 90s body stuff.
Okay.
What
All
were
right.
changes like for you? Walk me through year to year.
Again, you're making the pube symbol again, which I don't appreciate.
Listen, that's how I communicate.
Bill Barnwell, thank you.
Always a
Stopping
pleasure,
on
guys.
by. Dan Rubenstein, I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
My name's Ty Hildebrand. Thanks again for tuning into the Solid Verbal. Write us at solidverbal.gmail.com. Write us at solidverbal@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, what's on your mind, what happened to you in the 90s internet era. In the meantime, we'll talk college football a few days from now. Stay solid.
Peace.
Goodbye.